Hey everybody, welcome back to another Fallout 76 video, and in this video I'm going to be going over a route that I take in order to farm for XP when I'm looking to just level up a bit. And this route that I'm going to show you guys can be useful for when you're a high level. I'm currently in the 60s when I made this video, and it's also good for if you're low level because the enemies, some of them will scale down and scale up depending on what your level is. So without further ado, let's get into it. I want to point out this is not a glitch video, an exploit video on how to get massive amounts of XP really quickly. This is a way that you can level up your character legitimately in the game, just taking advantage of locations that enemies tend to spawn at, as well as locations that are kind of close in proximity to each other so that you can use the minimal amount of caps when fast traveling, and then once you've exhausted the route you can simply server hop, or sometimes enough time has passed where you can simply restart, go back to the start of the loop and just kind of go from there. So to begin, we're gonna go to the top of the world location. It's here at the map in the center, and you just fast travel to the place to the right of it, the ski lodge area, and it'll spawn you here on the road. And there's a bunch of super mutants that'll spawn here, sometimes scorched or mole people. Those three enemies, it just kind of varies. I haven't found any consistency as to how or why, but when you spawn in, there's going to be enemies at this location, and you can simply just run through them and use your preferred method, whether it be melee, sniping, power armor, whatever it is. Just go through and take out the enemies, and as you take them out, just gradually move in and clear out the entire area. Once you've cleared out the area kind of outside of the ski lodge, then you can just come up to the top of the world area where you enter the ski lodge on the right hand side here, and where the location to the vendor bot is at. And there's usually enemies that also spawn up here, so you can take them out and get some XP as well. On this run I got a bit lucky. There were a bunch of vertibots in the area that just kind of distracted a lot of the enemies for me, and if I were so inclined I could take out the vertibots to get more XP that way as well. So this is this area at the top of the world I really like, because once you're done farming the enemies, you can just pick up basically all the loot that they've dropped and then head on down to where the vendor bot is inside the ski lodge and just sell it or scrap it, or sell it. I guess there's no table there, but there are workbenches outside here that you can use to scrap as well. So this location, the enemies scale based on your level, and sometimes they'll be a bit lower, sometimes they'll be a bit higher. It just kind of depends on the server. If other low level players have been there, it might preset the enemies to a lower level or a higher level, so just keep that in mind. The next location we're going to move to from here is the Grafton area, which is located in the northern areas of the map. And keep in mind that you could add other places along the way. You could add Whitesprings, a couple other places in between. This is kind of a far jump, so you are going to spend some caps. If you do have your camp kind of set up in the middle of this, you can use that as kind of a base of operations to cut down on the fast travel. But as you can see, the reason why I like Grafton 2 is that there's a generator with a fusion core. Just come to the left is when you come in, and you can farm that for fusion cores if you need. And basically just go through the town of Grafton. There's usually super mutants here. If you get lucky, you can spawn the protester event as well, which is notoriously buggy, but sometimes you can get it to work here. I did get it to activate, so I was able to kill the protesters as well as the protectron bots that were spawned. And these enemies I find don't generally scale too high, so they're a good location for, especially if you're a lower level. I farmed Grafton a lot, not oftentimes intentionally, just kind of coming through here consistently. I would just kill all the enemies in here, and they're usually between 15 and 20 or 30. And if you're a bit lower level, they do seem to scale a bit on the lower side, but I haven't seen them spawn up to or scale up to say like 50 or 60. But you're still getting a decent amount of XP, so it is useful for higher levels as well. But this location in particular I think is very good for lower level players. Make sure you check all the buildings here as I did. The scorched protesters did spawn, which, as I said, I just kind of lucked out. That's more enemies to kill, more XP, and the protectron bots also spawn, so I could kill them and farm the XP from them as well as the loot. As before, you can just pick up everything that you want. There's a workbench near the railroad station, and you can scrap everything there if you want. Don't forget to also check the school down the street to the north, as well as the rooftops, because they do spawn enemies, they do spawn loot. This school sometimes drops or spawns a legendary enemy, or if the legendary enemy doesn't spawn, usually it's a boss type enemy, so you can take advantage of the extra loot spawn. Next location is going to be this one. It's not the greatest, you could skip it, but I include it in here because it's very good for lower level players. So if you're not super high level, come to the water park, and there's scorched here. There's actually a fair amount I found, and if you just run through and kill these guys, you're gonna up your XP, and they're not as hard of enemies. So if you're lower level and you're struggling to find areas with enemies who aren't higher level than you, this is a good location to go to. I also like it because it's got the fusion core that spawns there as well, so you can farm it for fusion cores if you're running low on them. This is a good location for that. And then finally, one of the best locations, or probably the best location on this map besides maybe top of the world, is the prison penitentiary. And you want to make sure when doing this location that you farm the inside of the penitentiary as well as the outside. The inside with the ghouls, there's a chance, I don't exactly understand how it works, but it does seem like there will be regenerating enemies if you just happen to get lucky, and you can just get a ton of XP from farming the inside. The ghouls will just seem to spawn like mad, and you can just rack up those kills. When you're done, make sure to come outside the penitentiary and kill the super mutants here as well, because once again, it's free XP. You're in the area, you might as well do it. Although if you're not as high a level, maybe you want to skip this part because it can be a little bit tricky, especially if the enemies are scaling higher. Here I kind of got a bit unlucky and they were spawned and scaled super low for me, but once again, that's just kind of luck of the draw. So there you have it, guys. That's just a route, one of the many routes that you can take in farming XP from enemies. Once again, it's not a glitch, it's not an exploit, it's just kind of taking advantage of locations that are near each other that are filled with enemies and just kind of rinsing and repeating. If you guys like this, I'll try to find some others in other parts of the map as well, but this is, I think, a good all-around one for players who are low, mid, even high. I mean, when I made this video, I leveled up once in just shooting it. I kind of did it in one take and just did the route and then recorded. So, and I'm in the 60s, so it does work well for higher level players. If you're in the hundreds and stuff, not exactly sure how that's going to work, but it is pretty decent. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more videos, and I will see you in the next installment.